In this video, I'll explain a Japanese Dharma romance film called Koizora. The film begins by showing a young woman named Mika who was in the toilet. She purposely looked in the mirror to apply lip gloss on her lips before returning to class. Her two friends were waiting to have lunch together. One of her friends with glasses mocked her. She thought Mika was wearing lip gloss because she was in love with someone. But Mika denied it. The other friend, Aya, admitted that she already had a crush named Nozomu. Aya didn't care when the glasses girl made fun of Nozomu, who was like a bad boy for wearing earrings. Mika and the glasses girl were forced to accompany Aya, who wanted to see Nozomu in his class. However, Nozomu was not there. Then they left. When they left Nozomu's class, Aya immediately smiled when she saw Nozomu and his friends. Mika was a bit horrified to see Nozomu's appearance, as was the glasses girl. She chose to stand behind her friends. However, suddenly Nozomu approached Mika instead of Aya. Mika couldn't help but shake her head when Nozomu walked over and introduced himself. He even asked Mika to exchange phone numbers. Mika was a bit confused, but Aya immediately came forward and said she wanted to exchange numbers with Nozomu. Mika backed away slowly and intended to walk away. But instead, she bumped into Nozomu's friend, a white-haired boy named Hiro. Mika was surprised to get a sharp glare from Hiro. She immediately apologized and ran away without noticing that Hiro kept looking at her. Mika hid behind a wall while catching her breath. Then Aya came to her, but her face was sour because Nozomu wanted to get Mika's number, not hers. Aya asked Mika not to take Nozomu from her. Mika swore that she wouldn't do it even if offered some money. Aya became cheerful again as she knew that Mika would never lie to her. The next day at school, Mika's cell phone was missing during recess. Mika looked for it in the classroom and rummaged through the contents of her bag, but it wasn't there. Aya helped by calling so they could hear the ringtone. But it seemed Mika's cell phone was not in the classroom. Mika thought that maybe she had left her cell phone in the library. Without thinking, she immediately ran towards it. As soon as she arrived at the quiet library, Mika tried to find her cell phone but still couldn't find it. Then she faintly heard her cell phone ringing, and Mika began to search for the source of the sound. Mika was relieved to see her cell phone tucked between the books on the shelf. Mika thought that Aya was helping her by constantly calling her cell phone. But when she received the call, it was not Aya's voice. It was a boy's voice. Mika checked her cell phone, and she was a little annoyed that all the contact numbers on her cell phone had been deleted. Mika called the boy again. She was angry because the guy had presumptuously deleted all her contact numbers. The guy was surprised that Mika got mad just because her contact numbers were deleted. If they really want to talk, they will call you first, he said. That night, when Mika was almost asleep, her phone rang, and it was the boy who had called her. Mika was a bit annoyed because her sleep was disturbed. But she didn't want to admit that she was sleepy. Without thinking, Mika immediately hung up the phone. But since then, the guy didn't give up on calling Mika. At first, Mika's reaction was very curt, but after a while, she became open and they exchanged stories about anything, especially school-related things. Even though the guy still kept his name a secret, Mika didn't mind. Mika didn't know the boy's identity, but she knew that they went to the same school. One day, Mika complained again because she felt unfair. The guy never mentioned his name and said it was a secret. Mika wanted them to meet in the new school year. Mika reasoned that she wanted to know who the guy she had always been chatting with on the phone was. They talked until morning. Mika was surprised when the boy wanted her to look up at the sky. She just realized that it was morning when she looked at the window. Mika was amazed to see traces of plain smoke in the sky, and the boy saw it too. He asked Mika to take a picture of it as a memory of their morning together. Mika hung up the phone and took a picture. That was when Mika just felt tired and sleepy. Mika is a bit disappointed. Her birthday celebration didn't go well. His father and mother were arguing about something. Then Mika couldn't say anything when the boy suddenly asked her to come to the swimming pool at school tomorrow. He said he wanted to celebrate Mika's birthday, even if it was a little late. Aya helped Mika to dress up before meeting the guy. Mika admitted that she was a bit scared and nervous. She was afraid that her expectations would not match reality. Aya tried to encourage her best friend by saying that she really wanted to meet that guy, although she was doubtful and afraid. Mika steeled her heart and went to the swimming pool. Mika looked around, but she didn't see anyone. Mika walked and waited while looking at the scenery. Suddenly from behind appeared a blonde-haired boy. It was Hiro. Mika was a bit surprised to see him and was about to run away, but Hiro called out to her. Hiro approached and quipped Mika, wearing makeup while trying to remove it. Hiro offered flowers as a birthday present, then introduced himself that his name was Hiro. Mika couldn't believe what was happening. Then Hiro took out his cell phone and showed her the photo of the smoke trail they took together. Mika looks very shocked after realizing that the boy who had been accompanying her days was Hiro. Mika ran, ignoring Hiro. Mika returned to classroom just when the class had started. Aya was curious, and Mika told her that the guy had scary white hair. Aya guessed that the guy was Nozomu's friend, and Mika said yes. The boy's name is Hiro, said Aya. The glasses girl chimed in that she had heard a gossip that Hiro already had a girlfriend, but from another school. While coming home from school, Mika accidentally saw Hiro running while carrying something. Mika was curious and she saw Hiro fertilizing the plants. Hiro was happy to see Mika. Mika, without hesitation, asked, "Does Hiro already have a girlfriend?" Hiro admitted that he used to have a girlfriend, but not anymore. Mika was happy to hear that. Her heart blossomed even more when Hiro gave her a gift in the form of a rainbow he made from the reflection of water. Now Mika seemed to have been enchanted by Hiro's charm. Mika didn't even hesitate to lie to the teacher during class hours. With the excuse of having a stomach ache, she went to the infirmary when in fact, she wanted to meet Hiro at the library. Aya and the glasses girl knew for sure that Mika was lying just to meet Hiro. Mika pretended to be sick, but she immediately ran to the library after leaving class. Mika searched and finally found Hiro in the library. Hiro suggested that they skip their classes that day. Mika complied when Hiro took her home on his bicycle. Arriving at Hiro's house, they met Hiro's older sister, Minako. Minako immediately left after greeting Mika. Mika felt uncomfortable as they were alone at home. Hiro gave her a drink and asked her to take a picture together. They then dozed off. Mika woke up first and straightened herself. She was happy, but only for a moment. She felt sad when Hiro mispronounced her name with another girl's name, Saki. Mika went home without saying goodbye to Hiro because she was annoyed. On the way, Hiro texted her to apologize for not being able to take her home with the excuse that he had fallen asleep. Mika wanted to reply by asking who Saki was, but she gave up her intention. Mika just asked, "Can I trust Hiro?" Hiro reassured her, and Mika smiled with satisfaction. One day, Mika made an appointment to meet Hiro somewhere, but she came too soon, so she decided to wait while putting on makeup. Suddenly, a black van stopped, and 2 men kidnapped her. Mika screamed hysterically. The car finally stopped. Mika ran with all her might, but 3 men chased after her. They pranked Mika, took her picture, and raped her. After that, Mika was left alone. When it was dark, Mika walked home. She immediately hid when she heard Hiro shout. Hiro called out her name while trying to call her. Finally, they met, but Mika refused to approach while apologizing for feeling that she had been dirty. Hiro calmed her down and swore to take revenge because he seemed to know who was behind Mika's kidnapping. Hiro brought her back to his house while he was going somewhere. Hiro met the 3 men and beat them to a pulp. They confessed that they did it on the orders of a girl named Saki while showing evidence of the recording they had made. Hiro destroyed the tape evidence. Minako suggested that Mika goes to the hospital to be checked. Minako promised to accompany her if necessary. Minako hugged Mika affectionately like her sister and said she didn't need to be afraid because Hiro would help her. Suddenly there was a noise. It turned out that Hiro came with Saki. Hiro said that Saki was the mastermind behind the kidnapping and told her that she was his ex-girlfriend. He waited for Mika's order to punish Saki, but Mika was scared instead. Minako came forward carrying scissors. She decided to cut Saki's hair without mercy. Hiro drove Mika home and reasoned that they fell off the bike, so Mika was a little bruised. Her mother was surprised and happy to see her daughter home. She immediately invited Mika into her house, while her father immediately closed the door without much word, paying no attention to Hiro. Then the next day, Mika told Hiro that she didn't go to school. Mika went to the hospital accompanied by his mother. Mika waited while her mother was still talking to the doctor. Her mother said that Mika's condition was okay. Mika was not pregnant, so she didn't need to be ashamed to go back to school. Mika was looking at her uniform when her cell phone rang. Hiro called him. Hiro asked Mika to open her bedroom window as she came to pick her up. They ended up going to school together. Mika and Hiro were sitting looking at the river. Hiro told her that it was his favorite place. Hiro told a little about his childhood and that he would come there if he felt weak. One day, Mika got a text from an unknown number telling her that she didn't deserve Hiro. The text made Mika shocked and scared. Then the next day, the terror reappeared in the form of writing on the blackboards in all classes. Hiro looked very angry and tried to erase everything. He even threatened to take revenge on anyone who dared to disturb Mika. Hiro took Mika to the library. Mika was very grateful because Hiro was there to help her. Mika lightened the mood by cleaning Hiro's sleeves stained with chalk. Mika said she wouldn't be afraid of anything anymore because Hiro was always there. The months passed by and now it was December. The joy of Christmas began to be felt, but Mika experienced things that she shouldn't have. Mika was eating with her sister. Suddenly some texts appeared on her cell phone saying break up. Mika didn't really care about it, but then she just felt nauseous. His father and mother were shocked, and so was his sister. Mika said that she was okay, but her mother suggests that they go to the hospital tomorrow. Mika's father waited anxiously while Mika and his mother were in the doctor's office. Then Mika invited Hiro to meet somewhere. Hiro came, and he had no idea why Mika asked him to come. Mika became nervous. She chose to drink first before admitting that he was pregnant and that it was Hiro's child. Hearing that, Hiro was shocked and immediately ran outside without saying anything. Mika was still waiting for Hiro to return. However, after waiting for a long time, she finally gave up. She chose to go home since she was disappointed with Hiro, who had just run away. But after that, Hiro also appeared with his breast still panting. He congratulated her while giving her a gift. Mika was surprised to hear Hiro's promise that he would make her happy. He even bought a couple's ring as if to make their relationship official and promised each other to raise a child together. Hiro invited Mika to meet his parents and sister. Mother asked Hiro about his plans for raising their child later. Hiro told her that he would quit school and work so he could support Mika and their future child. His father asked Hiro if he could make his wife happy. Hiro believed that he could do it. His father finally agreed to their relationship. Hiro and Mika were happy. Hiro now changed his hair color to black. He went to Mika's parents to ask for their blessing. Mika's mother and father seemed still shocked to find out that their daughter was pregnant before graduating from school. Her mother tried to tell Mika that being a mother was very difficult, but Mika tried to convince her that she could do it. Hiro insisted that he wouldn't go until he got the blessing of Mika's father. His father said that everything was too sudden. He wants Hiro to understand his feelings. The next day after school, Aya and Nozomu invited Mika to enjoy Christmas Eve together. But Mika refused as she wanted to spend Christmas Eve with Hiro. Then Mika was a bit surprised when Saki and some of her friends appeared and blocked her steps. Saki still couldn't accept that they were together, especially now when she heard the news that Hiro would be dropping out of school. Saki blamed Mika. She even pushed Mika down the stairs. Mika was not afraid. She quipped back at Saki, who liked to use dirty methods to get things. Mika assured that nothing could stop her feelings for Hiro. Hiro and Mika enjoyed Christmas Eve by taking a walk. They imagined that next year they would be traveling with their child. Hiro also gave her a present for their baby, and Mika was so happy. But after a while, she complained that her stomach hurt a lot. At the hospital, Mika was surrounded by her sister and parents. They, especially her mother, were very worried and anxious to see the situation. Mika woke up and was surprised to see them. Mika asked about the baby, and her mother replied that Mika had miscarried. Her mother asked if she had fallen before. Mika didn't answer. She just cried and asked about Hiro. His sister replied that Hiro immediately left when he heard the baby was in danger. Mika and her family were about to go home from the hospital. However, suddenly Hiro came running. Her parents and sister chose to go first so that they could chat. Hiro held out an amulet so the baby would be safe. But Mika was sad and said that the baby had been gone. Mika cried as if to apologize for not being able to take care of the baby. Hiro was shocked to hear that, and he tried to comfort Mika. They both cried together, crying over the baby who had never seen the world. Mika took Hiro to a park near their school where Hiro grew flowers. Mika wanted to put Hiro's gift near the flower. Mika said that their baby was a girl. Mika asked Hiro to pray for their baby. Then Hiro suggested that they come to that place every year on December 24, and Mika agreed. Time passed by and the new school year started. But lately, Hiro had rarely gone to school. Mika came to his class, but Hiro wasn't there. Mika tried to visit his house. But according to Minako, Mika should give Hiro time because he was still sad about what happened previously. Mika forced a smile even though she was a little disappointed with Hiro's attitude. Then Minako advised her brother not to hide in the room all the time. The next day, Mika met Hiro at the library. In a light tone, Hiro requested that they just break up. Mika didn't understand. Hiro told her that he wanted to be with another girl. Mika became angry and took off the ring. He threw the ring at Hiro and left. Mika was not calm. During the lesson, she sent a text to Hiro. Mika wanted to see him after school at the library, but Hiro didn't show up until nightfall. Mika tried to call him, but his cell phone was off. Mika said that she was sorry about what happened earlier and that she would still wait for Hiro. The next morning, Mika tried to call Hiro again, but Minako answered. Mika didn't understand what was really going on. What was her mistake that Hiro kept away from her? Mika sent the last text to Hiro. Mika liked him very much and didn't want to break up with Hiro. The next day before school, Mika would be waiting for Hiro at his favorite place. If he didn't come, then she would give up. Hiro read the text. His face looked sad. That day, Mika seemed disappointed that Hiro wasn't there. Mika waited, and she was happy when she saw Hiro. But Hiro didn't want Mika to approach him. Hiro didn't want to see Mika again. And he threw something at Mika. Mika caught it, and it turned out that Hiro had returned the ring. Hiro turned around and pedaled his bicycle vigorously. Mika tried to chase him, but Hiro had gone too far. Mika put on the ring Hiro gave her again and went to the library. She reminisced the first time she spoke to Hiro when her cell phone was lost, and Hiro found it. For Mika, Hiro was her first love, and she didn't know how to end their relationship. When they accidentally passed each other and Hiro pretended not to see, it was a very painful thing for Mika. Then Mika took off the ring that Hiro gave her and put it away with the other memorabilia. Mika was determined not to fall in love again. Then came December 24. Mika came to Aya's place, but it turned out that there was another man there too. Aya said the cure for a breakup was to find a new partner. Aya's friend was very polite and mature, but Mika couldn't enjoy the party. When she saw the falling snow, Mika hurriedly left without saying goodbye. Mika's departure was seen by Yu, a man who seemed to like her. It turned out that Mika went to the park to visit her baby's grave, but it looked like Hiro came before her. Mika tried to find Hiro, but instead he met Yu. Yu reasoned that he was worried about Mika. That's why he tried to find her, but he got lost. Yu offered Mika a ride, and Mika finally went home with Yu. Years had passed, and now Aya was chatting with Mika. Aya asked about Mika's future plans. Mika wanted to take an exam at Keida University. Aya quipped that now Mika was already attached to Yu. But Mika denied it and told her that Yu was only helping her study. Aya advised Mika that it was time to start a new relationship, but Mika just smiled. Mika went to the library with Yu. Yu praised her because she managed to answer all the questions correctly. Yu ruffled Mika's hair gently and affectionately. It made her recall her memories with Hiro. The difference was that Hiro ruffled her hair in an exasperated and somewhat rough manner so that her hair became messy. Mika waited on the beach, daydreaming. Yu approached her, carrying a bouquet of small white flowers. Mika was shocked and just remained silent when Yu handed her the flowers. Yu was a little disappointed that Mika didn't accept it. Yu was curious and wanted to know what kind of guy Mika liked. Mika replied that Hiro was like a river, a wave that carried everything away and never stopped flowing. In the end, she too was left. Now you can understand that if Mika thought of Hiro as a river, then he wanted to be the sea for Mika. He would definitely come back no matter how many times, never leaving Mika alone. Yu wanted to be the sea so she could keep her sad feelings and come to him. Yu handed the flowers again, and this time Mika accepted the bouquet with a smile. For Mika, her love for Yu was very different from Hiro's. Very calm and gentle. Several months had passed. On the next December 24, Yu took Mika to her usual place. Mika went alone while Yu waited in the car. Mika walked slowly, and she was a bit surprised to see Hiro was already there. They were a bit awkward when they met. Mika was surprised to see Hiro now wearing a hat, but Hiro admitted it was his new style. Mika also quipped Hiro, who rarely went to school, and Hiro jokingly said that he was in a lot of trouble. Mika didn't think that Hiro still remembered their baby. Mika was curious and asked why their relationship ended like this, why he always avoided her and ignored her. Hiro seemed to want to cry, but he steeled his heart and instead encouraged Mika to pass the university exam. Hiro immediately left. Mika tried to chase him, but she became indecisive when the road forked. Mika finally decided to go back to Yu and didn't go after Hiro. Mika was still looking for Hiro's whereabouts at the graduation ceremony, but couldn't find him. Mika smiled sadly and said goodbye to Hiro. Time had passed, and now Mika had officially become a college student. Her relationship with Yu grew closer. Mika wanted to forget all past memories, just remember December 24. That night, Yu took Mika back to her usual place where she visited her baby's grave. Yu suggested that Mika wear a hat. Mika took off her hat and was surprised to see a box. It turned out that Yu gave Mika a surprise by getting the ring box in the hat. Yu asked her to open it immediately, otherwise he would take it back. Mika hastily took it, and it contained a ring with a pledge or oath written on it. Yu put the ring on Mika's finger and said that Mika would truly be his from now on. Mika nodded and left immediately. She asked Yu to wait for her in the car. At that place, Mika was surprised to see Nozomu instead of Hiro. Mika didn't understand when Nozomu said that he would be the one visiting from now onwards. Finally, Nozomu talked about Hiro's condition, who had been suffering from cancer since 2 years ago. Then Mika remembered that Hiro broke up with her 2 years ago and started to stay away from her. Finally, Mika slowly realized the real reason why he did that. Not that Hiro had found another woman. However, it was because Hiro didn't want to be a burden to Mika and wanted her to be happy with another man. Yu looked for Mika out of concern. Mika had been gone for a while and hadn't come back. Yu saw Mika sitting lost in silence. Yu asked what had happened. Mika explained that Hiro would not come again because of cancer from now on. Mika wanted to leave, but Yu tried to stop her. They were both shocked when Mika's ring fell. Mika apologized and wanted to take it, but Yu stopped her. Yu quoted himself by saying that he was stupid, forbidding his loved one from finding her own happiness. Yu let Mika go even though his heart was broken and he wanted to cry. But he was willing to do that for the woman he loved. Hiro was lying in the hospital when somebody came. He thought it was Nozomu, but it was actually Mika. Mika was sad to see Hiro's condition, especially after knowing that Hiro was still wearing the ring. Hiro asked Mika to return to Yu because it was better for her to be with him. It turned out that Hiro had seen Mika's closeness with Yu back in the library. Hiro apologized to Mika for all his harsh treatment so far, and he was glad Mika had come to see him. Hiro hoped Mika would be happy. Mika burst into tears and said she couldn't be happy without Hiro. Mika just wanted that happiness from Hiro. Hiro honestly told her that his life would not be long. Mika also said that she would always love Hiro forever. Hiro was silent as Mika hugged him warmly, and Hiro finally hugged Mika back. He was touched by her sincerity to love him. They cried, remembering their togetherness again. Now Mika was also wearing the ring she had kept. Mika decided to focus on taking care of Hiro. Sometimes she couldn't stand seeing Hiro getting thinner and weaker. Mika prayed fervently at the temple so that God wouldn't take Hiro from her. Mika didn't mind if God gave her many trials, as long as Hiro could stay with her. Mika wanted a miracle. One day, Hiro was allowed to go home. They used time going to the school library. They reminisced about the first time they chatted when Mika's cell phone went missing and Hiro found it. They continued their journey by having lunch together by the river. Mika asked Hiro to marry her as proof that she was indeed special to Hiro. Hiro smiled and promised to do whatever Mika asked. Hiro brought a crown of garlands and recited the wedding vows. Mika said yes, and Hiro put the crown on. They smiled shyly at each other. Hiro wanted to celebrate with their child, something that could only be a dream. Hiro suddenly became emotional and cried. He didn't want to die because he still wanted to do a lot with Mika. Mika tried to calm him. Hiro still wanted to be with Mika. Hiro, who was always steadfast, now all he could do was surrender and cry. Mika was very worried seeing Hiro getting stressed. Mika hugged Hiro warmly and tried to give him support. Hiro loosened his arms while looking at Mika. He told her that he loved her. Mika smiled happily because this was the first time Hiro had said that. Mika replied that she also loved him. They were happy and hugged each other tightly as if they didn't want to be separated. At the hospital, Mika was embroidering and she was nagging herself for doing it wrong. Hiro suddenly asked what would happen after people died. Mika turned and replied that surely that person would be in heaven. Hiro also said that he wanted to be the sky so he could see Mika from above. Mika jokingly said that it was tantamount to stalking, and Hiro just smiled shyly. Mika also looked at the sky and said that if every time she saw the sky, she would assume it was Hiro. If the sky was clear, it meant Hiro was in a good mood. If it was rainy, then Hiro was crying. When the sun went down, then Hiro was shy. If the night came, then Hiro was hugging her. Hiro smiled and looked at the ring wrapped around Mika's finger. He was embarrassed because he could only buy a cheap ring, and in return, Hiro would give all the stars in the universe just for Mika. They exchanged smiles. Hiro took out a camera from under his pillow, and he took a picture of Mika. The nurse also came with a wheelchair for Hiro because he had to undergo an examination. Suddenly, Hiro gave the camera to Mika and asked her to print the photos. Mika was a little surprised but couldn't help but remain silent as she watched the nurse take Hiro away. Hiro said goodbye with a smile. Mika had just finished printing the photos when her cell phone rang. It turned out that there was a call from Minako. Minako asked Mika to go to the hospital immediately because Hiro's condition had suddenly deteriorated. Mika ran as hard as she could, but she fell and the envelope containing the photo fell scattered. Mika just realized that Hiro always took her pictures secretly. Meanwhile, with the nurse's help, the doctor tried hard to help Hiro. His father, mother, and Minako could only pray while hoping for a miracle to happen. Suddenly, Hiro's cell phone rang. When the nurse was about to answer it, Minako forbade it. Minako saw that the one calling was Mika. She pointed the phone at Hiro, whose eyes were closed. Mika shouted for Hiro and continued to cheer him on. Mika called while running. Slowly but surely, Hiro's eyes opened. Mika protested that Hiro always took her pictures alone. Mika wanted from now on, they should take pictures together. Hiro asked Mika to smile for him. Mika smiled and Hiro smiled back, then closed his eyes for good. And finally, Hiro passed away. Then the next day, Mika's mother came into Mika's room, telling her that Hiro's funeral was over. Minako left a book that Hiro had written for Mika. Mika just didn't react, so her mother put the book on the table. Mika seemed to have lost her spirit after Hiro died. She walked over the bridge and contemplated suicide. But she was surprised when suddenly 2 white pigeons appeared that flew low towards her, then flew high again. Hiro's book that fell was opened page by page due to the wind. Mika was interested and saw the contents of the book. It turned out that Hiro wrote everything about himself, and at the end of the article, Mika saw a picture of a family consisting of herself, Hiro, and their child. Hiro asked her to keep smiling. Then Mika looked up at the sky while continuously calling Hiro's name. The movie ended.